So, good evening, everyone, and once again welcome you to this channel, Nerd School. And if you haven't subscribed it yet, then do it now. So today it's kind of a special class because we are taking Aeschylus and the Oresteia. So I hope everyone is here right now with me. So let's begin. So today in this class we are going to discuss about Aeschylus and his other plays, and also the Oresteia. There is two the lad edit. Anyway, so let's start now. First of all, we need to understand his Aeschylus background information, right? So let's dive into the world of that ancient theater, and especially the world of Aeschylus, who was kind of the legendary playwright from ancient Greece. So he was born way back in 1525. You see the date. Date could be 1524 also. Quite they are confused with two dates. But anyway, we are just taking widely accepted one. So 525 BC he was born, and he was often hailed as what? The father of tragedy, and played a crucial role in shaping Athens' golden era. So alongside Sophocles, as we know, we have already discussed Sophocles and his tragedies, right, in the previous class. And in our next class, we'll talk about Euripides. So anyway, alongside with Sophocles and Euripides, he considered one of the most significant, figure in Western literature. So Aeschylus took a traditional religious festival that mourned Dionysus. So this word is quite important for you guys. So anyway, it was all about like sufferings, and turned this mourned Dionysius festival into a literary form with social and political implication that deeply influenced what? Greek culture. So now here's the deal. Aeschylus was likely to be the first dramatist, right, to present plays as trilogy. So it's quite important that you should understand that Aeschylus was the first dramatist to present plays as a trilogy. And the only surviving ancient example was his Oresteia. And out of his estimated like 70 to 90 plays, only 7 have come down to us today. So you only have to remember 7 plays, and these plays are, you see the Persian, the date is also mentioned here. Then we have like 7 against Thebes. Then we have the Suppliants, and we have of course Prometheus Bound, and again the Oresteia's trilogy, which includes what? It includes Agamemnon, the Libation Bearer, and the Eumenides. So quite a little bit, but anyway, that's what we are going to discuss today. All of these, especially first 4 plays, and then we'll move to the trilogy, which is the Oresteia, right? So why should we wait? Let's jump into the Persian. So Persian, as you say, everything, all the summary is in pointer. So that I will anyway share with you all. So let's talk about this Persian, and the date you see 472 BC, right? And this play was performed 72 BC, and it's kind of unique Greek tragedy because it depicts what? It depicts a recent historical event like the Battle of Salamis, you see, which Aeschylus himself experienced. So that was quite, that inspired him to write the Persian, right? And the play revolves around the Greek concept of hubris, which places the blame for Persia's defeat on the excessive pride of the king, right? So it was like the blames Persia's loss on the king's pride. So it was all about that. It was the cause of king's pride for the loss. So anyway, it starts something like it comes. The story begins with the messenger arriving in Susa, which is the Persian capital, to deliver the news of what? Catastrophic defeat at Salamis to Atosa, and which was like the mother of King Xerxes, who Salamis to Atossa. And Atossa then visits the tomb of her husband. And then again another character, Darius, where his ghost appears to explain the cause of the defeat. And Darius reveals that Xerxes' arrogance in building a bridge across the Hellespont angered the god, leading his downfall. So the play ends with Xerxes' arrival, still unaware of the true reason behind his defeat. And the closing scenes are filled with lamentations by Xerxes and the chorus. So as we know that chorus plays very important role in Greek theatre. So that was about Persian. Now let's move on to the 7 Against Thebes, which was performed in 467 BC. Right. So this 7 Against Thebes, which Aeschylus presented in 467 BC. And this play explores the theme of divine intervention in human affairs, and what it touches upon the idea that the city-state of polis played a crucial role in the development of human civilization. And now let's talk about the story. Like it starts, the story revolves around Eteocles and Polynices, as we have talked about now, these two characters in Antigone, and of course the Oedipus at Colonus, that we have talked about these two characters who actually the sons of disgraced Oedipus of Thebes. So initially what happens, Eteocles and Polynices agree to share the throne of Thebes, right? So it was like they both agreed to share the throne of Thebes. So taking turns ruling the city. So it was like this particular year you will do and then I'll do. So that was the agreement. So however, the first year Eteocles refuses to step down. So that's actually the main cause of the this tragedy. So anyway, what happened? That Eteocles refuses to step down, which prompts Polynices to wage war against his brother. Right. So ultimately, both brothers die. Both brothers end up killing each other in a fierce deal. And originally, the play ended with mournful scenes for the deceased brother, but a new ending was added later. Yeah. So the revised ending, it happens something like it features Antigone and Ismene mourning their brothers, a messenger entering to announce an edict that prohibited the burial of Polynices, and Antigone boldly declaring her intention to defy his decree. So by the way, this play was part of larger Oedipus trilogy, and with the first two plays being Lies and Oedipus, and the final one being the Sphinx, which was satire play also. So I would like to just brief everything. The Greek tragedy was like everything. All the characters are same there. It's not like some different characters are there and then you have to remember. All the characters are there, and the plots are similar to each other. Like in Sophocles, what you see Oedipus Rex. It begins with that Oedipus trilogy, right? It begins with Oedipus, that he was he was king at Thebes. He killed his father, right, and married her mother. So his mother. So it was like the plot starts from there, and then when he finds out about the truth, he actually Jocasta kills herself, and then Oedipus blinds himself, and he actually deserted himself in some underworld kind of stuff. But in the second, what happens? In the second, Oedipus at Clear, that he's banished in a desert. So in that, those son, Eteocles and Polynices, the same thing, the war is happening, but they both ruled the Thebes. But what happened? It was yearly, but they that Eteocles broke the rule, and they fought against it. So it's like the same 7 Against Thebes. So plot is the same here. And what happened? They kill each other. And then again, in the third part, like Antigone. So Antigone, what happened? She wanted to, bury her brother properly. Like uh, whatever the custom is there. But again, that Creon, who was at the time king, he said that Polynices actually is a charge of treason. So I won't let him. Let you bury him properly. So then Antigone, that the thing happened, right? Then all of them, then Creon, what he did, he just went in. I mean, he just took Antigone and ordered her to be in the tomb alive. So everyone, because of the his son, Creon's son, was in love with Antigone. Eventually, all of them die there. So character are the same here also, right? So like they were, Antigone and Ismene mourning their brothers and all. So by the way, so this was all in Antigone, and here it is continuing the same thing here. You see, so all of it, if you know Sophocles and his plays better, if you have read Oedipus, that actually what it does, it just clarifies your all the plots around happening around Greek theater. So that was the thing in the Seven Against Thebes. The same plot is there, and again, what happens? Now your doubt is clear here. Now we can just move on to another play, which is the Suppliants. So Suppliants is like, so it was first, you should know the date, 463 it was published, and the play explores what the theme of divine intervention in human affairs, and touches upon the idea that the city-state, which was also called like polis, played a crucial role in the development of human civilization. So it was kind of same. So remember the date, it was performed in 463. I think I have said 67 right in the beginning. That was actually for the 7 Against Thebes. So anyway, so here the Suppliants, which was published in 467 BC, and it is the only surviving play from a trilogy. So there was another trilogy, but only the first part, the Suppliants, is there. Excuse me, but others are not there. So anyway, this one is very interesting because the chorus here representing the daughters of Dionysus and take a leading role. So it is a Danaid trilogy, which is first one the Suppliants, another was the Egyptians, and the Danaids again. So it was actually war between Argos and Egypt. So these ladies escaped forced marriage with their cousins by what? By fleeing in Argos in Greece. So the king of Argos, whose name was Pelasgus, is caught between helping the daughters and making nice with the cousins, but in the end he agrees to give them asylum. So in that, the whole trilogy seems to be all about showing the power of love, contrasting it with the stubbornness of the daughters and the lust of their cousins. Okay, so these daughters actually forced to marry Egyptian sons, and Dionysus warns his daughters of a prophecy. The prophecy was like, Danaids kill their husbands, right, and accept Hypermnestra. And Hypermnestra helps Lysanus to escape. And what happened? Lysanus kills Danaus and fulfills the prophecy. So eventually, all the prophecy comes true in Greek tragedy. So again, Dionysus and Hypermnestra established ruling dynasty. That is the ending. So we almost all know about it. Now we have one, Prometheus Bound. I think you are familiar with the story, but if you're not, you just listen to me here. So date is not known for that. The story goes like that. It is, as we know, written by Aeschylus, and it is thought to have been composed sometime between 479 to 424. So the gap is so much, right, between that. So that's why the date is not confirmed here. So the tragedy is actually based on what? Based on Prometheus. So it is based on actually it's a myth there. So the tragedy is based on the myth of Prometheus, where what happens that a titan who defies Zeus and protects and give fire to the humankind, for which he is subjected to the wrath of Zeus and got punished for it. So the story is kind of pretty intense, and you have got this name Prometheus, who goes against Zeus, the big boss of the god, as you know. He's like the king of the gods, and saves humanity by giving them fire. But guess what? Zeus doesn't appreciate Prometheus playing hero and decide to punish him like a really big time. So he chains Prometheus to remote crag, all isolated and miserable environment. But even in his, this state, Prometheus gets some visitor. First, there was like the one ancient god, which was called Oceanus, who pays him a visit. Then chorus of Oceanus' daughters shows up to offer their support. And of course, let's not forget about one character, which is Io. So there is one character, Io there. Io, I don't know how to say, but I-O. It is the spell. It spells like that. So anyway, Io. So this Io is actually poor girl who got messed up by Zeus. She was like swings by two. Finally, Hermes, another god, drops in and tries to get Prometheus to, to like reveal the secret, and on some secret that could threaten Zeus' power. But Prometheus is not giving in. He refuses to spill the secret and keeps his lips sealed. As you can imagine, Zeus isn't too pleased with Prometheus' stubbornness, so he sends Prometheus straight to the underworld for some more torture. So the whole play is basically a battle of wills between Zeus and Prometheus, and with Prometheus standing strong, defying the tyrannical power of Zeus. So it's kind of real clash of the titans, if you will. So anyway, what's really cool about this play, this Prometheus, because Prometheus himself becomes a symbol of rebellion against oppressive ruler. So people in later times saw him as the ultimate figure of standing up against tyranny. So in fact, P.B. Shelley was also inspired by Prometheus, that he wrote a poem called Prometheus Bound, right? And the publication date of that was 1820. So now it was all about Prometheus Bound. Now we'll talk about the Oresteia. So in Oresteia, we are going to discuss everything in detail, like the characters there, plots, why it plots, because in Oresteia it's a trilogy, right? We'll start with Agamemnon, then Libation Bearer, then Eumenides. So all these three plays we are going to discuss. So anyway, we'll just begin with I'll just talk about a little bit the Oresteia, the context, and then we'll move to the characters, then plot, and eventually move to the theme symbol and analysis. And we have also collection of quotes here that we can see. But anyway, the Oresteia here, which was published 458 BC. So this trilogy is a set of three plays from way back to 458 BC. So these plays are all closely connected, and if you just get one first tragedy, get the plot is clear, then everything will be easy for you guys. But anyway, these plays, as I said, are all closely connected, and they tell one epic and dramatic story. Again, we have few missing lines in Oresteia, and which is actually only complete trilogy of Greek plays by any playwright. So it starts with Agamemnon, then the second is the Libation Bearer, which is also known as Euphorion. So that word you should remember that, because in exam once they have asked about it, but they didn't say what the Libation Bearer, but they have mentioned this name. So that can happen. So make sure that you remember this. So this play, these all plays tell the violent story of family of Agamemnon, who was the king of Argos, right? So here is a little bit all about context in small line. I'll just explain all this together. So in the first play, we call Agamemnon. So what happened? We meet this legendary Greek king who returns home victorious, after the whole Trojan war. But guess what? His wife name is Clytemnestra. Very important character, which you will find in till ending. The other T Eumenide. Eumenides. So you just remember this name, Clytemnestra. So this Clytemnestra, who's wife of Agamemnon, is not exactly thrilled to see him. Wow, after he's coming after so long, war, and she's not happy. Well, don't know. So she's furious about Agamemnon sacrificed their daughter Iphigenia for the sake of the war. Of course, yeah. Then this is like clear that she should be furious and she should not be happy of him returning to the city. But anyway, what happens? Why she was furious? Because Agamemnon, what he did, he sacrificed their daughter Iphigenia for the sake of the war. Plus, Clytemnestra has been fooling around with this dude named Aegisthus. So that is another again character. So long story short, she ends up killing Agamemnon and takes control of the kingdom. So that is very simple plot, right? Like Agamemnon is returning and Clytemnestra is not happy. Actually, she's furious because Agamemnon has sacrificed his daughter for the war, and she was also in relationship. She was having affairs with Aegisthus, and then she plotted against Agamemnon and eventually kills him. So that is the whole plot, and everything starts from that. So now let's move on to the second play, which is Libation. So Libation Bearer, what happens there? The title refers to a chorus woman servant who visits Agamemnon's tomb. So now in the second, what happens? These women servants, they go to visit Agamemnon's tomb to offer some piece of his spirit. So Agamemnon's son, whose name is Orestes, so everything moves around him. So Orestes returns as a grown man to seek revenge on his mother and her lover for killing his dad. So now the story is going a little bit interesting, right? It is now revenge is happening here. So the Orestes, So Orestes, what? He returns, as we were talking about, a grown man to seek revenge on Clytemnestra and her lover, right? And he reunites with her sister called Electra. So you see, all the characters are the same in every play. So Electra here, he comes and reunites with his sister Electra, and together they plan their vengeance. So Orestes manages to kill Aegisthus, Clytemnestra lover, right? But he's kind of forced to kill his mother by the god Apollo. Orestes feels pretty guilty about it, and he goes a little crazy, haunted by the Erinyes, which are like these females' embodiment of his mother's curse. It's a mess, right? So he comes and reunites with Electra, and together they plan the revenge, and Orestes manages to kill Clytemnestra lovers, but he's a kind of forced to kill his mother by the god Apollo, and because of that Orestes feels pretty guilty about it, and then he goes a little bit mad and haunted by the Erinyes, who are actually female embodiments of his mother's curse. So it's kind of messy, right? So now on to the third play, Eumenides. What happens there? It's like, first, Eumenides. It means the kind of goddesses, which starts at the shrine of Apollo in Delphi, where Orestes seeks refuge from the vengeful Furies. So Apollo tells Orestes to head to the Athens and stand trial for killing his mom. So off he goes. When he arrives, the wise goddess Athena organizes a trial with the regular folk serving as the jury. So these Furies act as his accusers, so which Apollo defends him. So the jury can't make up their minds, but Athena casts the deciding vote to acquit Orestes. So man, that doesn't sit well with the Furies, and they start getting angry at the whole city. But Athena works her persuasive magic, strikes a deal, and convinces them to bless Athens instead. So they become these kind of goddesses, and they settle down there. So in the end, what happens? The vicious cycle of revenge is broken, and justice and the rule of law prevail. So that's the Oresteia trilogy in short for you guys. It is like packed with intense family drama, murder, divine intervention, and of course the triumph of justice. It's considered one of the greatest Greek tragedy because its powerful language, gripping characters, and the way it explores deep themes of theology, politics, and family trees. So we have kind of discussed all the plot in Oresteia together, all of it, right? So the series is there for you guys. So you will remember all of it together. So we'll just move on to the major characters, and I'll just move on quickly. You just first is Agamemnon. So Agamemnon, he's kind of like a star there in the beginning. Everything starts from there. So he's king of Argos and the leader of Greek armies Trojan. He's actually the leader of the Greek army in the Trojan War, and he's back from the war, thinking he's the, he will be like his wife will be happy. But what happened? Clytemnestra has some wicked plan for him, and Clytemnestra is fascinating character. So another this character, Clytemnestra, she's the main focus and the one who orchestrated Agamemnon's murder. She got some valid reason for wanting him dead, like avenging their daughter Iphigenia, right, and whom Agamemnon sacrificed for the war. But she's also hooking up with who? Aeschylus. So which kind of tarnish a righteous act. So the chorus of elder surgeons of Argo is there, to providing commentary and adding their 2 cents about the whole situation. Another character is Cassandra here. So this Cassandra is also actually captured what Trojan priestess who has the girl of prophecy. So too bad for her, right? So nobody believes her predictions. Thanks to a curse from Apollo, she knows Agamemnon's family is cursed and predict his death as well as her own. So Aegisthus, Agamemnon's cousin, plays a part too there, right? This character, and actually he's a cousin of Agamemnon's, and he's got a grudge against Agamemnon's family ever since Agamemnon's father served Aegisthus' brother to him as dinner. Creepy. So that was another story that we'll talk about in Euripides. But anyway, again another character is Orestes. So Orestes is we see him in the Libation Bearer, where we meet Orestes. So he's the son of Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, and the brother of Electra. So he's the main dude seeking revenge for his father's murder, and it was in Libation Bearers. Orestes is smart and determined, ready to take whatever, ready to do whatever it takes to honor his dad's memory. So his buddy, again another one, is Pleiades pops up later in the play, so representing Apollo and giving Orestes a nudge in the right directions. But anyway, Electra, this character is Orestes' sister and has had rough time since Agamemnon's death. So she was kind of treated like a slave in her own house and despises her mom, whose name is Clytemnestra, right? So Electra is fiercely loyal to her father and bonds with Orestes when he shows up. So she's like, pretty much done with the palace drama thing and doesn't appear again after going inside at Orestes' command. So we can only see her there for some time. And then again, chorus, as you know, in Greek tragedy, chorus is like, background, they are singing and all these things. But anyway, these the chorus we see in the Libation Bearer majorly, and is made up of slave women from the palace. So they are like the voice of society, offering their opinion and influencing the curse of heaven. So they even tell characters what to do, which is pretty bold. And speaking of bold, Clytemnestra is still in the mix, and she's the power player here, taking charge after killing Agamemnon. And Clytemnestra is kind of smart, persuasive, and not afraid to her hands, not afraid of doing all the things. But anyway, other minor characters you see in that we have Clesia, this is Silisa is there, and then we have Orestes' nurse. These are small characters, their role is have very small, so but they are crucial also. But she's raised Orestes and has a bone to pick with Clytemnestra for her treachery. So she helps Orestes by altering a message and ensuring his victory over who? Aegisthus, who was Clytemnestra lover. So he's a bit of weak character, and this version of the story, he's overshadowed by Clytemnestra, who's clearly the one who was calling the shots. But anyway, Apollo. Another one is Apollo, who's the the god who commands Orestes to avenge his father's death. So this god, who Apollo, plays a significant role in off stage, and he sends an oracle to Orestes commanding him to avenge his father's murder. Apollo's all about blood for blood, but he promises Orestes that he won't have to face the consequences. So Hermes, the messenger of God, is also mentioned a couple of times. Furies, as we know, Furies is like Eumenides. These are the goddesses of justice and vengeance, relentlessly pursuing Orestes. So Clytemnestra's ghost, another, it comes sometime, the spirit of Clytemnestra seeking justice for her murder. So that was all about character. Now we'll talk about, plots. Okay, so plots, Agamemnon, as you know, it's quite, straightforward. That guy comes, I think it's clear for you. So if you want, I can just tell you about it one more time, but I think I have cleared pretty much. But let's one more time revise it, what is happening in Agamemnon. So this play starts with a watchman. Okay, it begins with a watchman chilling on the rooftop palace, right? And this palace is in Argos, waiting for a signal that Troy has fallen to the Greeks. And finally a beacon of flashes, and the watchman goes all excited to tell Queen Clytemnestra the good news. Meanwhile, a group of old dudes known as the chorus shows up and starts sharing the story of how Helen, and the wife of Greek king Menelaus, got snatched by some dude named Paris, and that little incident led to 10 years war between Greece and Troy. So some background story was happening by the chorus about the Troy. So anyway, now the chorus also brings us some details, and they remind us that Clytemnestra's husband Agamemnon, who happens to be Menelaus' brother, sacrificed their own daughter Iphigenia. So Agamemnon, these are all who are making these kind of stories, is those chorus. And chorus again is in singing way telling to the audience that how Agamemnon sacrificed their own daughter Iphigenia. So to the goddess Artemis, and yeah, that's right, he actually killed his own kid to get favorable winds for the Greek fleet. So anyway, Clytemnestra struts, and the chorus is like, saying again, like, what's up with all the sacrifices? So he tells them that, that Troy has fallen, and this time is real. And then a herald, again another character is Herald, pops up and confirms the news, talking about the hardship the Greek army faced and how they are glad to back home. Clytemnestra sends the herald to fetch Agamemnon, but before he leaves, what happens actually? The chorus again, they come, and they again telling about the story. So anyway, so the chorus starts singing about how Helen's beauty caused so much destruction, and finally Agamemnon arrive rolling up in his chariot with Cassandra, the Trojan princess he's snagged as a slave, and that Clytemnestra puts on a show of love and welcomes him. But Agamemnon isn't exactly warm and fuzzy toward her. He's like walking on the fancy carpet, and but Clytemnestra again nags him until he walks on the carpet and enters the palace. So already this is all happening in the beginning. So now what happens? The things is getting more intense. Cassandra, who's been chilling in since the whole time, starts speaking in weird prophecy that occurs on Agamemnon family. She predicts that she'll die, and an avenger will come. Spooky stuff, right? After her chilling prediction, she accepts her fate and goes inside. The chorus is freaked out, and then they hear Agamemnon screaming in pain inside the palace, and they're like, what do we do now? Just then, the doors open and Clytemnestra shows up, standing over the dead body of Agamemnon and Cassandra. She proudly announces that she killed him to avenge their daughter Iphigenia. And guess what? Who joins her? Her lover Aegisthus, so who happens to be Agamemnon's cousin. So by the way, Aegisthus, you know, they started ruling. So Clytemnestra and Aegisthus take over the government, and the chorus declares that Orestes, Clytemnestra's son and Agamemnon's child, will return from exile to seek revenge for his father's death. And yeah, that's how things wrap up in Agamemnon, and because they've already told what is going to happen in the second play. So this family feuds, murder and revenge, this was kind of classic stuff in tragedy. So again the second part, we are talking about plot of the Libation Bearer. And what happens there? Orestes is coming back and seeking revenge for his father's death. So here what happened, many years have passed, okay, since the infamous murder of King Agamemnon by his lovely wife Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisthus. Yes, Agamemnon's son Orestes returns to this homeland of Argos with his body. Remember that? So Agamemnon actually comes after so many years. So actually he's coming to pay respects at father's grave. Orestes has been living in exile, as we know, but he's back now on a secret mission given to him by the god Apollo. And what was the mission? To seek vengeance for his father's death and punish the murderers. So at the grave, Orestes has a long-awaited reunion with his sister Electra, and actually who he hasn't been seen, since they were kids. So there is a lot heartfelt recognition and happiness in seeing each other's. And Electra explains that she was sent to the grave by the mother Clytemnestra to offer libation and hopefully ease her mother's troubling dreams. So Orestes, both siblings, Orestes and Electra, encouraged by the chorus, express their love for their father and their deep hatred for their mother. Together they pray and hope that the spirit of Agamemnon will come to their aid in their quest for revenge. So Orestes and Electra talk about how things could have been different if their father were still alive. But the chorus reminds them to focus on the present and take action. So they again hatch a plan to avenge Agamemnon's death with the support of chorus. Orestes makes a scheme to enter the palace and kill Aegisthus while he's sitting on the throne. Electra and the chorus are all in on, and disappears back into the palace. But surprise happens when Orestes knocks on the door. Clytemnestra herself answers. Now Orestes has to come up with a fake story about who he is and why he's there. So he pretends to be a stranger, bringing sad news of Orestes' death. Clytemnestra mourns and sends Orestes' old nurse Silissa to fetch Aegisthus and bring him to hear the news. Here's now interesting thing is happening. The chorus intercepts Clytemnestra's message and tells Silissa to make sure Aegisthus comes alone without his bodyguard. So Silissa here follows their instruction, not really understanding why the chorus is so excited since he believes Orestes is dead. So Aegisthus briefly appears on the stage and then heads back into the palace meet Orestes. His servants comes out and announces Aegisthus' death, calling for Clytemnestra to come and see what's going on. So Clytemnestra rushes out, seeing that something is seriously wrong. The doors open and she sees Orestes standing over Aegisthus' lifeless body. Here comes the climax of the play. Orestes is determined to carry out his revenge on his mother, but he hesitates when Clytemnestra expose her and plead for him to spare her because they're family. But wait, again another character that he was with Orestes, right, Pylades. So he steps in at the critical moment and reminds Orestes of his duty to Apollo, and he shakes off Clytemnestra's pitiful argument, regains his resolve, and stabs his mother. The chorus celebrates. Orestes wraps both body in the same shroud that Agamemnon was killed in, and proudly proclaimed that he has fulfilled the demands of justice. So, however, now the deed is done, right? Orestes falls victim to the wrath of the Furies. These vengeful goddesses, he goes mad and runs offshore toward Delphi, seeking refuge as Apollo's shrine. So the chorus ends the play in despair, realizing that the cycle of bloodshed isn't over. It keeps going on and on. And that's about the Libation Bearer. And again, what happens in Eumenides, the story will continue. And in the Eumenides, what happens? After the Furies wake up and continues their relentless pursuit of Orestes. So Athena, there was correct, this Orestes actually seeks for help from Athena. So he was like, help Athena. He pleads to the goddess of some assistance, and she's like, okay, hold on, I got an idea. So Athena decides to organize a trial for Orestes right there in Athens, and on this famous hill called the Europagus. So she gathers a group of 12 Athenian citizens to be the jury, and she herself acts as the judge. So it's like proto courtroom situation kind of thing. So the court is happening there. So in this trial, Orestes is basically the victim there. So Athena wants to use him to set a precedent and establish this whole idea of formal legal trial. So everyone's watching closely, including the Furies, Apollo, and of course Athena herself. So as the trial wraps up, guess what? The votes are tied, and it's really nail bitter. So, but what happens? Athena again steps in the and casts the deciding vote, and she's like, guessed, all of them she was just mentioning. What happens? She says like, Orestes won't be put to death. Straight. So the Furies are not exactly thrilled about this outcome. They are pretty, pissed off. And Athena, being the persuasive goddess, she manages to talk to them. She convinces them to embrace a new role in Athens, and instead of going around seeking revenge, they become a positive force of vigilance. And as a little cherry on top, what happens? Athena even changes their name from the Furies to Eumenides, which means the gracious one, right? So that's all. That's kind of all the plot we have also discussed in detail. And if you want, I can also, I think all is done. Now we are left with analysis, themes, quotes, and symbols. So anyway, analysis is like so the Oresteia trilogy, it is, as we know, it's a trilogy and is one epic Greek tragedy that's all about family drama, revenge, and the triumph of justice. So these all three plays, as we know, it's Agamemnon, Libation Bearer, and Eumenides. So in Agamemnon, we meet the big shot Greek king in the beginning. All the story is there that we'll just quickly see what happens. Agamemnon, betrayal, murder, and family turmoil. Poetry's emotional group like Aeschylus, powerful language, impending doom, a sense of foreboding throughout, context of violence, Helen, Iphigenia, and Eurydice, Agamemnon, cold, arrogant king, Clytemnestra, determined avenger, Clytemnestra's complexity, sympathy, and dark deeds. Libation Bearer, what happened? Orestes seeks revenge with Electra, guilt and haunted his spirit. Orestes' tragic journey. Eumenides, what happened? Orestes chased by Furies, Apollo's intervention, Athena's trial, and establishment of legal system, progression from revenge to justice and order. Themes are like family dynamics, past crime, personal versus social justice, and divine intervention and its power. So captivating language and of course powerful poetry. The Oresteia epic, which is Greek tragedy, and captivating exploration of human struggle. So that was kind of analysis. Full notes you will be provided in your symbol. I think we talk about themes? No, right? So themes is there: justice through retaliation, justice through law and revenge, and mother right and father right. That I'll discuss right now. So because of that justice, because justice was not there, right? So what they did, they seek for the revenge. So that is actually happened, and then again is the revenge, which is the whole tragedy is out of revenge. There should be strong motive to take revenge. So that was quite important also. And there is mother right, father right. So these kind of it was like major theme. Like her daughter died, right? Clytemnestra. So she seeks revenge, and then what happens? Orestes' father Agamemnon, was killed. Then he again seeked for that revenge. So everything is together. Anyway, symbols are there. Symbols like Orestes is himself a symbol. Symbol of what? Symbol of self-discovery and breaking free. There's one red carpet. Red carpet, as we talked about, how they were walking like proudly with proud, and what happened there? Eventually there. So arrogance and impending doom. Nets represent traps and dehumanization. Light from darkness represent triumph of Athenian law, and serpent represent corruption of the justice system. And again, some quotes are there. Quotes, you remember, these all are from the trilogy. So justice exacting the penalty of the victim's blood by the killer's blood. By suffering men learn. Wisdom comes alone through suffering. One cannot judge by appearance, sheer might. So all these, beautiful quotes were from there. So for the dead are quick to see to the heart's unhidden intent. The mother's way is not the father's way. Be convinced to be convinced, and one must hear both sides. And the heart is not so simple a thing as a man imagine it to be. Let not one, black night ensnare and keep you the sunlight's child. So these are all quotes from that you will be. I'll share that. So that is all about Aeschylus, guys, and I hope all the plots are cleared for you now. And I'll see you in the next class where we'll talk about Eumenides and his play. And then we'll have Menander and Aristophanes that we'll talk about too. So we are only left with three people: Eumenides, Aristophanes, and Menander. And after that, we'll just straight move to the other play like mystery, miracle, and morality plays. And then we'll start with Shakespeare and all his contemporaries. So it's not. So this is all about Aeschylus and his tragedy plays. So I'll see you in next class. Thank you so much. It was pleasure talking to you all. Okay, bye bye.